first of all, you've got to understand that the power of the county council to dispose of its money as it might want to do is extremely limited, because most of the spending, by far the majority of our spending, is statutory things which we have to do by law because the government tells us to do that. So I've said this before, 2/3 of our revenue budget goes on social care. Adults and children social care straight away, and that is directed, it isn't directed against Wingate, and it isn't directed to Newton Aycliffe, it's directed where it's needed to, and it's spread across the board. And sort of so much highways, that money is just put where the roads are beginning to fall to pieces. We repair them as fast as we can. We have a backlog of nearly £200 million worth of repairs to do, and sort of that's entirely due to a lack of funding from the government. We keep pumping in an extra 9 million, 10 million pounds out of people's council taxes, but ultimately it gets worse and worse and worse. We fall further and further behind, and so what we do is we just go rushing around, just trying to stop the thing collapsing and keeping the road surface as well as we can. When it comes to discretionary spending, therefore, the discretionary pots which we have are exceptionally limited. And what you have to understand is that sort of but even those, they are distributed according to need. Which area of the county do you think gets the most spent on putting money into bus services, which can't attract a commercial franchised operator because they're not profitable? Which areas of the county do you think get most money for that? It's all up the Dale, all these communities up the Dale who are absolutely convinced that we're doing them a dirty. Sort of all the funding on discretionary bus services goes up to sort of providing services up the Dale, because otherwise they would have no services. When it comes to places like Bishop Auckland, all that money is private money. It's all that multi-billionaire who bought the Auckland Castle and is now doing Kinran, sort of, and it's they've tapped in, and through his initiative, I might point out, they've tapped into this government fund, which is the Towns and Cities Fund. And because they've got a Tory MP, this time they've got Towns and Cities money, and they've got loads of money to spend on Bishop Auckland. Not a penny of that is the Durham County Council money, because Durham County Council have been systematically stripped to the point where we're now short every year of £250 million of revenue that we would have had if they kept the 2010 levels. And don't you try telling me that £250 million missing every year doesn't matter, and we ought to have been able to distribute money willy-nilly all over the things. The other things is that so much of the discretionary money that we actually have is spent absolutely clear. So each AAP area, there's 14 of them in the county, they all have exactly the same amount of money, and all that money is bid for under a call-out system. I agree with Paul. I would prefer that to be a participatory budgeting system, but nevertheless, it's sort of given equally across the county, and each county councillor has £18,000 of neighbourhood budget which he spends, and make no doubt about that. No other council in the country has a system of AAPs like we do, and very few county councils. Go talk to Darlington and ask them how much their councillors have to spend on their local community. And so it's time, as socialists, what you stop doing is you stop bashing the county council for things that it's none of their business at all. They can't do anything a damn about it. They're doing the best they can. And it's time you looked at the cause of this, which is a neoliberal conservative government, which has systematically stripped the county council of funds over a decade. And I notice that Chris Hood is entirely referring to the last decade of the unitary sort of council. But what he needs to understand is that decade has been the decade of austerity and has been a systematic destruction of council powers and council funding. And what you need to do is, instead of kicking the county council, and the county council, which quite frankly has enough to boast about, that it started 2 months ago and it's still not able to get through the 120 things of which are genuine achievements on its local, on its county council, on its Facebook site. Sort of, instead of kicking them, you need to direct your fire where the fire deserves to be, and it's at the Tory government, who are trying to destroy you, and they've gaslighted sort of certain people into thinking that it's the county council's fault, and it's bullshit. And until you start getting that right and voting it accordingly, it will go on.
Keep the red flag flying here.